The ship's zenith moved slowly through the darkness of space toward the third planet from the yellow star. Captain Vextal stood on the bridge, his crystal body glowing softly blue as he studied the readings on his screens. His species, the Korthani, had explored hundreds of worlds over the past 1,000 years. This one looked like all the others that supported life. "Water world with basic life forms," said Science Officer Kiljan, her voice echoing through the crystal formations that made up her head. "The inhabitants appear to be simple bipedal creatures. Standard first contact procedures should work fine." Captain Vextal nodded. The Galactic Federation had done this many times before. They would make contact, share some basic technology, and welcome another primitive species into the greater galactic community. It was routine work, but important work. "Take us into orbit," he ordered. "Deploy the deep scanning probe. Let's see what these creatures are doing down there." Far below on the planet's surface, Dr. Lisa Martinez checked her diving equipment one more time. The research submarine hung suspended over the deepest part of Earth's ocean, the Mariana Trench. She had been studying deep-sea life for 15 years, but every dive still excited her. "All systems green," called her partner Dr. Jake Thompson from the control station. "Water temperature is holding steady at just above freezing. Pressure readings are normal for 11,000 meters down." Lisa grinned. Normal meant pressure that could crush a car in seconds, but after years of deep-sea research, it felt routine to her. She sealed her advanced diving suit and prepared to descend into the abyss. "Remember, we're looking for those new species of giant tube worms near the thermal vents," Jake said through the radio. "The ones that seem to be living in water hot enough to cook an egg." "Got it," Lisa replied. She activated her descent system and began dropping toward the ocean floor, surrounded by darkness so complete that her lights seemed like tiny candles in an endless cave. Above the planet, the alien probe descended through Earth's atmosphere. Its sensors were designed to detect signs of intelligent life and assess the planet's safety for first contact. What it found confused its programming immediately. The probe's computers registered readings that made no sense. The ocean contained life forms at depths where the pressure should crush any living thing. The water near volcanic vents reached temperatures that should boil any organic material. Yet not only did life exist there, it seemed to thrive. "Captain," Science Officer Kiljan called out, worry clear in her crystalline voice. "The probe is sending back very strange data. It appears there are intelligent beings operating at depths of over 10,000 meters." Captain Vextal turned from his command station. In all his years of exploration, he had never encountered life that could survive at such depths. The pressure at that level would kill a Korthani instantly, even with their crystal-hard bodies. "Are you certain the sensors are working correctly?" he asked. "I've run diagnostics 3 times, Kiljan replied. "The readings are accurate. There are definitely intelligent beings down there, and they appear to be moving around freely in conditions that should be impossible for organic life." Down in the deep ocean, Lisa Martinez was having the time of her life. Her suit's lights illuminated a world that few humans had ever seen. Giant creatures moved through the water around her, their bodies adapted to survive in crushing pressure and near-freezing temperatures. She approached a thermal vent where superheated water poured from cracks in the ocean floor. Around the vent, strange tube worms as tall as trees swayed in the current. Their bodies processed chemicals that would be deadly poison to most life forms. "Jake, are you seeing this?" she said into her radio. "These worms are incredible. They're living right next to water that's over 400 degrees. "Copy that, Lisa. Take as many samples as you can. The lab is going to love this data." Lisa moved closer to the vent, her suit's systems automatically adjusting to protect her from the extreme heat. To her, this was just another day at the office. She had spent years working in conditions that would terrify most people, and she loved every minute of it. The alien probe detected her presence and began following her movements. Its artificial intelligence tried to make sense of what it was, observing. The creature appeared to be exploring an environment that should kill it instantly, yet it moved with confidence and ease. The probe's sensors detected other life forms nearby that were even more disturbing. Massive creatures with rows of sharp teeth moved through the water. Some had tentacles covered in suckers. Others had bodies that glowed with their own light, using bioluminescence to hunt in the darkness. Back on the ship, the Korthani crew watched in growing alarm as the probe transmitted images of Lisa's dive. "This cannot be correct," muttered Dr. Zilara, the expedition's xenobiologist. "No intelligent species would willingly enter such a hostile environment. These creatures must be forced to work in these conditions by some other species." Captain Vextal studied the readings more carefully. The biological signatures were definitely showing intelligent thought patterns. The creature in the mechanical suit was making decisions, collecting samples, and communicating with others of its species. "Open a communication channel," he ordered. "Perhaps we can help these poor beings escape from whatever is forcing them to work in such terrible conditions." The probe extended its communication array and began broadcasting on frequencies that should be detectable by any technological species. The first attempts were simple mathematical sequences and basic images designed to show peaceful intent. Lisa was examining a cluster of deep-sea creatures when her equipment detected an unusual signal. The submarine's computers identified it as artificial but unlike anything in human databases. "Jake, I'm picking up some kind of transmission down here," she reported. "It's not from any human source I recognize." "That's impossible," Jake replied. "There's no human technology that can operate at your depth except for your suit and our probe." The signal grew stronger, and Lisa's translation software began trying to decode it. The patterns looked like mathematical sequences, followed by what appeared to be images. "I think someone is trying to talk to me," Lisa said, excitement clear in her voice. "This could be first contact with an alien species." On the ship, Captain Vextal waited for a response to their peaceful greeting. When the reply came, it confused everyone on the bridge. The message was cheerful and friendly, but its content made no sense to the alien translators. The creature seemed to be expressing joy about being in what it called deep water with amazing pressure readings. It mentioned something about beautiful giant squid and fascinating thermal vent communities. "The translation systems must be malfunctioning," said Science Officer Kiljan. "The creature appears to be describing its torture chamber as if it were a pleasant recreation area." Dr. Zilara ran additional scans on the environment around the human. The readings confirmed their worst fears. The creature was surrounded by predators with natural weapons that could tear through most known materials. The pressure would crush any Federation species instantly. The temperature variations ranged from near freezing to hot enough to cook food. Yet the creature's biological readings showed no signs of stress or fear. If anything, it seemed to be enjoying itself. "Captain," Dr. Zilara said slowly, "I believe we may have encountered something unprecedented. This species appears to consider a lethal environment to be normal habitat." Lisa continued her exploration, unaware that her casual dive through the deep ocean was causing an existential crisis among the alien observers. She collected samples from creatures that the aliens classified as nightmare monsters, photographed thermal vents that registered as deadly hazards, and cheerfully narrated her discoveries to Jake back on the surface. "The biodiversity down here is incredible," she reported. "I found at least 6 new species just in the last hour. Some of these creatures are living in conditions that push the absolute limits of what we thought was possible for life." The alien probe followed her movements, its sensors recording everything but its programming struggling to categorize what it observed. According to every database in Galactic Federation history, the creature should be dead. Instead, it was conducting scientific research in an environment that would serve as an effective execution chamber for most known species. Captain Vextal made a decision that would change galactic history. Instead of proceeding with standard first contact protocols, he ordered a full retreat to a safe distance while the crew tried to understand what they had discovered. "All stations, prepare for emergency jump to minimum safe distance," he commanded. "We need time to analyze this data before making direct contact." As the ship Zenith moved away from Earth, its crew began to realize they had encountered something that challenged everything they thought they knew about life in the universe. The cheerful creature in the crushing depths had just become the first human to terrify an entire alien species without even trying. Down in the ocean, Lisa Martinez continued her research, completely unaware that she had just redefined humanity's place in the galactic community. To her, it was just another successful day exploring the wonders of Earth's deep sea. 3 days after the ocean encounter, Captain Vextal made a difficult decision. The Federation needed to understand what they had discovered on this strange world. Despite his crew's fears, they had to investigate the surface of the planet. Dr. Zilara prepared for what she expected to be a safer mission than the ocean depths. Her species, the Telmari, were known throughout the galaxy for their scientific courage. She had studied life on dozens of worlds, but nothing had prepared her for what she would find on Earth's surface. The landing shuttle touched down in a place the humans called Yellowstone National Park. Dr. Zilara's sensors immediately began screaming warnings. The ground beneath them was unstable, with massive geological activity happening just below the surface. Toxic gases were escaping from cracks in the Earth. The radiation from the local star was strong enough to damage most Federation equipment. "This is impossible," she whispered to her assistant, Dr. Morkek. "How can any species live on a surface this hostile?" Before Dr. Morkek could answer, they heard footsteps approaching their landing site. A tall human male walked toward them, wearing simple clothing that offered almost no protection from the dangerous environment. He was smiling and appeared completely relaxed. "Welcome to Yellowstone," said Danny Williams, the park ranger who had been assigned to meet the alien visitors. "I hope you folks are ready for a great tour. We've got some beautiful sights to show you today." Dr. Zilara's translation device struggled with the concept of beautiful sights, in reference to what her sensors classified as an active disaster zone. She tried to warn the human about the dangers surrounding them. "Kind being," she said through her translator, "our sensors detect massive geological instability in this area. You should evacuate immediately before the ground collapses." Danny laughed, a sound that confused the aliens even more. "Oh, you mean the geysers and hot springs? Don't worry about those. They've been going off regularly for thousands of years. Old Faithful erupts about every 90 minutes, and it's quite a show." The aliens exchanged worried glances. This human was describing predictable geological disasters as if they were entertainment. "Follow me," Danny continued, starting to walk along a marked trail. "We'll start with some of the thermal features, then maybe see some wildlife if we're lucky." Dr. Zilara and Dr. Morkek followed cautiously, their protective suits sealed tight against the hostile atmosphere. Every step triggered new warnings from their equipment. The air contained high levels of oxygen, a gas so reactive it could cause explosions. The water in nearby pools was hot enough to cook food. Strange chemicals bubbled up from underground, creating colorful but toxic displays. Danny stopped beside a large pool of steaming water. "This is Grand Prismatic Spring," he explained proudly. "It's one of our biggest hot springs. The water temperature reaches about 190 degrees Fahrenheit, and those beautiful colors come from different types of bacteria that live in the heat." The aliens stared in shock. The human was describing life forms that thrived in temperatures that would kill most Federation species, and he seemed to think it was wonderful. "The bacteria that live in the hottest parts are orange and red," Danny continued. "The ones that prefer cooler areas are yellow and green. It's amazing how life adapts to different conditions, isn't it?" Dr. Zilara made notes on her portable computer, but her scientific training was struggling to process what she observed. Life forms that lived in boiling water were supposed to be impossible, yet here they were, creating what the human called beautiful colors. They continued walking, and Danny pointed out various features of the landscape. Each one represented a new category of danger that the aliens had never encountered on a civilized world. "That rumbling sound you hear is from underground," Danny explained as they walked. "We're sitting on top of a supervolcano. The whole area is basically one giant volcanic system." Dr. Morkek nearly dropped his equipment. "You live on top of an active volcano?" he asked in horror. "Well, it's not going to erupt anytime soon," Danny replied casually. "The last big eruption was about 70,000 years ago. The scientists say we've got plenty of time before the next one." The concept of living on top of a delayed catastrophe for thousands of generations was so alien to Federation, thinking that Dr. Zilara's translator actually shut down briefly to prevent mental overload. They reached an area where steam was rising from the ground in regular intervals. Danny checked his watch and smiled. Perfect timing, he said. Old Faithful should go off in about 5 minutes. You'll want to stand back a bit for the best view. The aliens watched in amazement as hundreds of humans gathered around what appeared to be a dangerous geological anomaly. Families with small children sat on benches, eating food and laughing. Elderly humans pointed cameras at the steam vent, completely unconcerned about the unstable ground beneath their feet. When the geyser erupted, shooting boiling water and steam over 100 feet into the air, the humans applauded and cheered. The aliens could only stare as an entire crowd celebrated what their equipment classified as a minor geological disaster. "Isn't it beautiful?" asked a voice behind them. Dr. Zilara turned to see a human female approaching with a large camera and several different lenses. "I'm Emma Rodriguez," the woman said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. "I'm a wildlife photographer. I heard we had some visitors from space, so I thought I'd come say hello." Dr. Zilara accepted the handshake cautiously. "You photograph the local wildlife?" she asked. "That's right," Emma replied enthusiastically. "I specialize in dangerous animals. Bears, wolves, mountain lions, venomous snakes. The more dangerous they are, the better the pictures turn out." The alien's translator struggled with the concept of deliberately seeking out dangerous predators for artistic purposes. "You approach deadly creatures voluntarily?" Dr. Morkek asked. Emma laughed. "Well, you have to be careful, of course, but if you understand animal behavior and keep a safe distance, you can get amazing shots. Just last week I got some incredible pictures of a grizzly bear with her cubs." She showed them her camera display, scrolling through images of massive predators with claws and teeth designed for killing. In several photos, the distance between Emma and the dangerous animals appeared to be less than what Federation safety protocols would require for observing a small, harmless creature. "This one is my favorite," Emma said, showing them a picture of a large brown bear standing on its hind legs. "She was only about 30 feet away when I took this shot. You can see the incredible detail in her fur and the intelligence in her eyes." Dr. Zilara's emergency medical systems activated automatically. 30 feet was close enough for most predators to cover in seconds. This human had deliberately placed herself within killing range of a creature that could tear through metal, and she seemed proud of the accomplishment. Danny rejoined them after Old Faithful finished its display. "I see you've met Emma," he said. "She's one of our best wildlife photographers, always getting shots that nobody else dares to take." "Speaking of wildlife," Emma said, "I heard there's been a mountain lion spotted near the North Trail. I was thinking of heading up there this afternoon to see if I can get some pictures." The aliens watched in growing disbelief as the two humans discussed the best strategies for locating and approaching a large predator that their databases listed as capable of killing an adult human in minutes. "Just remember to make noise when you're hiking," Danny advised. "You don't want to surprise one. They prefer to avoid humans, but if you corner them accidentally, they can get defensive." Dr. Zilara realized that these humans had developed an entire science around safely interacting with creatures that were designed to kill them. It was like discovering a species that had learned to swim in lava or breathe poison gas. As the day continued, Danny showed them more of the park's features. Each new site reinforced the aliens' growing understanding that humans lived on a world that was actively trying to kill them. Yet they had somehow turned survival into a form of recreation. They observed families camping in areas where large predators roamed freely at night. They saw humans deliberately exposing themselves to dangerous levels of solar radiation for something called tanning. They watched people consume water from natural sources that contained bacteria and minerals that would hospitalize most Federation species. The final shock came when they visited the park's weather station. A cheerful meteorologist named Pete showed them records of the area's climate patterns. "Winter temperatures can drop to 40 below zero," Pete explained. "Summer can hit over 100 degrees. We get lightning storms that can start forest fires, hailstorms that can dent cars, and winds strong enough to knock down trees." "And people live here year-round?" Dr. Morkek asked weakly. "Oh, sure," Pete replied. "You just have to dress appropriately and pay attention to the weather forecasts. Most of the dangerous stuff gives you some warning if you know what to look for." As their shuttle prepared to leave Earth's surface, Dr. Zilara compiled her report for Federation Command. She had discovered a species that treated mortal danger as mild inconvenience, turned survival challenges into entertainment, and somehow built a thriving civilization on a world that violated every known principle of planetary habitability. Dr. Hexlon adjusted his protective suit for the 5th time as he prepared to enter the human medical facility. As the Federation's top medical officer, he had studied biology on dozens of worlds, but the reports from Earth's surface had shaken him deeply. Now he needed to understand how these creatures survived in such impossible conditions. The answer, he suspected, lay in their biology itself. St. Mary's Research Hospital looked normal enough from the outside, but Dr. Hexalon's sensors immediately detected concerning readings. The building was filled with biological agents that would require emergency quarantine on any civilized world. Yet humans moved in and out freely, some of them clearly sick or injured, as if exposure to disease was just another part of daily life. Dr. Peter Kim met him at the entrance, wearing simple clothing that offered almost no biological protection. He was smiling and seemed genuinely excited to meet an alien scientist. "Welcome to our hospital," Dr. Kim said warmly. "I've been looking forward to sharing our medical knowledge with you. I understand you want to learn about human biology." Dr. Hexlon's translator struggled with the concept of a medical facility that didn't require full biological containment. "Your species treats sick individuals in the same building as healthy ones?" he asked carefully. "Of course," Dr. Kim replied, seeming confused by the question. "How else would we help them get better? Come on, let me show you around." As they walked through the hospital corridors, Dr. Hexalon's horror grew with each step. His sensors detected thousands of different microorganisms in the air, most of which would be classified as dangerous pathogens by Federation standards. Yet the humans breathed this contaminated atmosphere without any protection. "Here's our emergency room," Dr. Kim said, leading him into a large area filled with injured humans. "Dr. Rebecca Foster is our head of emergency medicine. She can tell you about some of the more interesting cases we see." Dr. Rebecca Foster approached them, removing gloves that appeared to be her only protection against biological contamination. She had been treating a human who was bleeding from multiple wounds, yet she seemed completely unconcerned about infection. "Nice to meet you," Dr. Foster said, extending her hand for the human greeting gesture. "Peter tells me you're interested in human medical biology. You picked a good day to visit. We've had some fascinating cases come in." Dr. Hexalon accepted the handshake reluctantly, his suit's decontamination systems working overtime. "What types of medical conditions do you commonly treat?" he asked. "Oh, the usual stuff," Dr. Foster replied casually. "Broken bones, cuts that need stitching, people who got into fights with wild animals, lightning strike victims, folks who fell off cliffs, the occasional poisoning from eating the wrong mushrooms." The alien medical officer's emergency protocols activated. Each condition Dr. Foster mentioned would be considered a major medical crisis requiring specialized treatment facilities, yet she spoke about them as routine daily occurrences. "You treat lightning strike victims regularly?" Dr. Hexalon asked, his voice rising in pitch despite his translator's attempts to maintain calm tones. "Maybe 1 or 2 a month during storm season," Dr. Foster said. "Most of them recover fine as long as we get them stabilized quickly. The human body is pretty resilient." Dr. Hexalon made notes on his portable computer, but his scientific training was collapsing under the weight of impossible information. Lightning strikes delivered enough electrical energy to power Federation cities, yet these humans survived, them regularly enough to have standard treatment procedures. "Let me show you something really interesting," Dr. Kim said, leading them to a laboratory area. "We've been doing research on the human microbiome. Did you know that the average human body contains about the same number of bacterial cells as human cells?" The Federation medical officer nearly dropped his equipment. "You mean humans are infected with billions of bacterial organisms?" "Not infected," Dr. Kim corrected cheerfully. "These bacteria are essential for human health. We can't survive without them. They help us digest food, produce vitamins, and fight off harmful microorganisms." Dr. Hexalon's medical database crashed and began emergency restart procedures. The concept of beneficial bacterial infection was so contrary to everything he knew about biology that his systems couldn't process it. Dr. Foster joined them at the laboratory station. "The really amazing part is how the human immune system works," she said. "It's constantly fighting battles against harmful organisms while protecting the beneficial ones. It's like having a war going on inside your body every second of every day." "War?" Dr. Hexlon whispered. "You have warfare happening inside your bodies?" "Microscopic warfare," Dr. Kim explained. "White blood cells attacking viruses, antibodies, targeting specific threats, inflammation responses to injury. The human immune system is basically a military operation that never stops fighting." The alien medical officer sat down heavily in a nearby chair. His own species had evolved on a world with very few harmful microorganisms. The idea of living in constant biological warfare was like discovering that humans breathed poison gas for fun. "Here, let me show you some blood samples under the microscope," Dr. Foster said, preparing a slide. "You can actually watch the white blood cells in action." Through the microscope, Dr. Hexalon observed what could only be described as a battlefield. Tiny cellular warriors moved through the human blood, attacking and destroying invading organisms with ruthless efficiency. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "This is from a healthy human," Dr. Kim explained. "This level of immune activity is completely normal. In fact, if we didn't see this much cellular combat, we'd be worried that something was wrong." Dr. Hexalon realized he was looking at a species that had evolved to live in constant conflict at the molecular level. Their bodies were designed for warfare, and they considered it normal. A nurse approached their group carrying a tray of coffee and what appeared to be spicy food. "Thought you might want some refreshments," she said kindly. Dr. Foster accepted a cup of the dark liquid and took a large drink. "Thanks, Maria. I really needed the caffeine boost." "Caffeine?" Dr. Hexlon asked. "That's a stimulant drug. You consume stimulants regularly?" "Every day," Dr. Kim replied, also taking a cup. "Most humans consume caffeine daily. It helps us stay alert and focused. Some people drink several cups of coffee per day." The alien watched in amazement as both human doctors consumed what his systems classified as a psychoactive substance without any apparent concern. On most Federation worlds, regular consumption of stimulant drugs would be considered dangerous addiction. "What about the spicy food?" Dr. Hexlon asked, noticing that Maria was eating something that made her eyes water. "Oh, that's just hot peppers," Maria explained. "I love spicy food. The hotter, the better. This salsa has ghost peppers in it." Dr. Hexalon scanned the food with his sensors and nearly fainted. The chemical compounds in the peppers registered as weapons-grade pain-inducing agents. The human was voluntarily consuming substances that could be used for torture. "Why do you eat things that cause pain?" he asked weakly. "It's not really pain," Maria said thoughtfully. "Well, it is, but it's a good kind of pain. The heat releases endorphins which make you feel good. Plus, it tastes amazing once you get used to it." The concept of enjoying pain for pleasure broke several more of Dr. Hexalon's analytical frameworks. He was beginning to understand that humans had somehow weaponized suffering and turned it into recreation. Dr. Foster's radio crackled to life. "We have incoming trauma cases," a voice announced. "Multiple vehicle collision, several casualties expected." "Excuse me," Dr. Foster said to Dr. Hexalon. "Duty calls." The alien medical officer watched as the human doctors prepared to treat people who had been injured in high-speed collisions between metal vehicles. On most worlds, transportation was designed to prevent injury. Here, humans apparently accepted that their travel methods occasionally resulted in severe trauma. Over the next few hours, Dr. Hexalon observed treatments that challenged everything he thought he knew about medicine. He watched Dr. Foster treat a patient who had survived falling from a building, another who had been struck by lightning while hiking, and a third who had been bitten by a venomous snake and simply waited for medical attention while the venom spread through his system. Each case would have been immediately fatal to most Federation species. Yet the humans treated them as routine medical emergencies with established procedures and good success rates. The breaking point came when Dr. Kim showed him the hospital's maternity ward. This is where human babies are born, he explained proudly. Doctor. Hexlon looked at the tiny human infants and felt his worldview completely collapse. These helpless creatures were born into a world that featured crushing ocean depths, unstable geology, deadly predators, extreme weather, disease-causing organisms, and countless other hazards. Yet somehow they not only survived, but grew up to consider it all normal. How do the young ones survive? He asked in wonder. Human babies are completely dependent on their parents for years, Dr. Kim explained. They can't walk, feed themselves, or protect themselves from danger. But human parents are incredibly protective and resourceful. They'll do anything to keep their children safe. Cultural anthropologist Tikavar had studied over 200 different civilizations across the galaxy. She understood how species developed art, music, philosophy, and social structures. But the reports coming back from the human homeworld made no sense according to every model of civilization she knew. How could a species create culture while living on a planet that was actively trying to kill them? She materialized her ethereal form in what the humans called New York City, one of their largest population centers. Her sensors immediately went into emergency mode. Over 8 million humans lived crowded together in a space that her computers classified as a geological disaster zone waiting to happen. The city was built on an island surrounded by water that could freeze solid in winter. It sat near an active fault line that could produce earthquakes. The buildings reached impossible heights, defying basic principles of safe construction on an unstable world. Most shocking of all, the humans seemed to love living there. Professor Alan Brooks met her at the entrance to Columbia University. He was an elderly human with gray hair and kind eyes, completely unconcerned about the daily dangers surrounding him. He had spent his entire life studying human history and culture. "Welcome to New York," Professor Brooks said warmly. "I hope you're ready for a fascinating look at human civilization. We have thousands of years of history to share with you." Tikvar's translation system struggled with the concept of thousands of years in relation to a species living on such a dangerous world. Most civilizations relocated to safer planets as soon as they developed space travel. These humans had apparently stayed on their death world and built increasingly complex societies. "How long have humans lived in this particular location?" she asked as they walked through the university campus. "Native Americans lived in this area for thousands of years before Europeans arrived," Professor Brooks explained. "The modern city has been growing for about 400 years. We've had our challenges, but people keep coming here because of the opportunities." Tikvar observed the humans moving around them. Students carried books and electronic devices, discussing philosophy and science as if they weren't surrounded by mortal danger. Parents pushed small children in wheeled vehicles, apparently unconcerned that their offspring were being raised in an environment that would terrify most galactic species. "Tell me about human history," she requested. "How did your species develop culture while facing so many survival challenges?" Professor Brooks smiled. "That's a wonderful question. Come, let me show you our history department." They entered a building filled with artifacts from human civilization. Tikvar's sensors detected weapons of incredible sophistication, artwork, created during periods of extreme hardship, and written records describing thousands of years of warfare, natural disasters, and survival against impossible odds. "Humans have always been creative," Professor Brooks explained as they walked past displays of ancient pottery, paintings, and sculptures. "Even during our darkest periods, we found ways to express beauty and meaning. Sometimes our best art comes from our worst circumstances." Tikvar stopped in front of a display showing human warfare throughout history. The weapons evolved from simple clubs and spears to devices capable of destroying entire cities. Yet mixed among the instruments of death were musical instruments, books of poetry, and religious artifacts. "Your species developed art and warfare simultaneously?" she asked. "They've always gone together," Professor Brooks replied matter-of-factly. "Humans are capable of incredible violence and incredible beauty, sometimes at the same time. We've written some of our greatest literature during wars, composed beautiful music in times of suffering, and created magnificent art while living under terrible conditions." Dr. Nicole Chang joined them at the history display. She was a sociologist, who studied human behavior patterns, and she had been eager to meet their alien visitor. The interesting thing about human civilization, Dr. Chung said, is that we seem to need challenges to bring out our best qualities. When life gets too easy, we sometimes create our own problems to solve. Tikvar's analytical systems nearly overloaded. The concept of deliberately creating problems was so alien to Federation thinking that she had to ask for clarification. "You create difficulties for yourselves voluntarily?" she asked. "All the time," Dr. Chang replied cheerfully. "We climb mountains that don't need to be climbed, explore places that don't need to be explored, and ask questions that don't need to be answered. Some of our greatest achievements come from doing things that aren't necessary for survival." Professor Brooks led them to a display about human exploration. The exhibit showed humans deliberately venturing into the most dangerous environments on their planet, often with primitive equipment and little chance of survival. "We've always been explorers," he explained. "Even before we had proper technology, humans were crossing oceans in small boats, walking across frozen continents and climbing the highest mountains just to see what was on the other side." Tikvar studied images of early human explorers facing conditions that would require emergency rescue operations on most civilized worlds. Yet these humans seemed to consider such expeditions normal recreational activities. "This is Captain Scott's expedition to the South Pole," Professor Brooks said, pointing to photographs of humans in an ice-covered wasteland. "They knew it was incredibly dangerous, and some of them died making the journey, but they went anyway because they wanted to be the first humans to reach that point on the planet." The alien anthropologist realized she was looking at a species that had turned exploration of their own Deathworld into a form of entertainment. They didn't explore dangerous places because they had to, but because they wanted to. Dr. Chang showed her records of human sports and recreational activities. "We also compete against each other in activities that simulate mortal danger," she explained. "Boxing, football, car racing, extreme skiing. We've created thousands of different ways to put ourselves in controlled danger for fun." Tikvar watched video recordings of humans deliberately colliding with each other at high speeds while crowds cheered. In other sports, humans threw themselves off cliffs with fabric wings, rode down mountains on narrow boards, and performed acrobatic stunts that required perfect timing to avoid serious injury. "Why do you create dangerous activities for entertainment?" she asked. "It's hard to explain," Dr. Chang admitted. "Humans seem to need a certain amount of risk and challenge to feel fully alive. When our daily lives become too safe, we look for ways to add excitement back in." They visited the university's literature department, where Tikvar discovered something even more puzzling. Human writing was filled with stories about heroes who deliberately chose to face impossible odds, usually for the benefit of others. "Human literature is full of characters who sacrifice themselves for noble causes," explained Professor David Martinez, the department head. "We admire people who face death to protect others or to achieve something important." Tikvar read examples of human stories and poetry. The themes consistently involved individuals choosing to confront danger rather than avoid it. Characters were praised for courage in the face of death, not for finding safe alternatives. "Your entertainment celebrates choosing danger over safety?" she asked. "Our best stories do," Professor Martinez confirmed. "We tell stories about people who could have stayed safe but chose to risk everything for something they believed in. Those are the humans we remember and honor." As the day continued, Tikvar's understanding of human civilization became increasingly confused. She visited art museums where humans displayed paintings created during wars and disasters. She observed concert halls where humans performed music that expressed both beauty and tragedy. She toured libraries filled with books describing human achievements that required facing mortal danger. Most disturbing of all, she discovered that humans had built their largest cities in the most dangerous locations on their planet. They constructed population centers on earthquake faults in flood zones near active volcanoes and in areas regularly hit by extreme weather. Urban planner Steve Martinez showed her maps of major human cities around the world. Each one was located in a place that Federation safety protocols would classify as unsuitable for permanent settlement. "Why do humans build cities in dangerous locations?" Tikvar asked. Usually because those locations offer other advantages, Steve explained. River valleys flood regularly, but they have fertile soil for growing food. Coastal areas face storms and tsunamis, but they provide access to ocean resources. Areas near volcanoes are dangerous, but the soil is incredibly rich for agriculture. Tikvar realized that humans had learned to balance risk against reward in ways that no other species had attempted. They accepted danger as the price for opportunity, and they had built their entire civilization around this principle. The final revelation came when she attended a human gathering called a concert in Central Park. Thousands of humans sat outdoors, in an area where her sensors detected dozens of potential threats, from unstable weather patterns to urban predators. Yet the humans seemed completely relaxed as they listened to music performed by other humans. The emergency session of the Galactic Federation Council had been called for the first time in over 300 years. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the Great Chamber on Central Station, their various forms of communication, creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, electromagnetic pulses, and translated speech. Admiral Kexthor of the Vexkari Empire stood at the center podium, his four arms gesturing as he addressed the assembly. As the Federation's chief military advisor, he had seen combat across dozens of star systems, but nothing had prepared him for the reports coming from the Sol system. Fellow beings, Admiral Kexthor began, his voice carried by translators to every species present. We have encountered something that challenges everything we thought we knew about life in the universe. The chamber fell silent except for the quiet hum of life support systems. Even the gaseous Nethkari stopped their constant swirling to listen. 3 months ago, we made contact with a species on the third planet of the Sol system. The Admiral continued. Initial reports suggested they were primitive bipedal creatures living on a standard water world. We were wrong. Catastrophically wrong. He activated the chamber's holographic display system, showing images from Earth. The assembled representatives gasped, clicked, hummed, and made various sounds of distress as they saw humans casually swimming in crushing ocean depths, walking through geological disaster zones, and raising children in conditions that would kill most adult Federation members. The planet designated Earth is what we must now classify as a Class Omega Deathworld, Admiral Kexthor announced. It violates every known principle of planetary habitability. The atmosphere contains explosive levels of oxygen. The surface is geologically unstable. The weather systems regularly produce what we would classify as weapons-grade environmental attacks. The oceans contain predators that would serve as effective torture devices. Representative Silthara of the peaceful Zendari collective raised one of her many tentacles to speak. Surely the inhabitants are trapped there by some malevolent force. They must be prisoners on this terrible world. That was our first assumption, Admiral Kexthor replied grimly. We were wrong again. The humans live there voluntarily. More than that, they love their planet. They consider it beautiful, exciting, and full of opportunities. He showed more images. Humans climbing mountains for recreation, swimming with dangerous predators for fun, and living in cities built directly on active fault lines. The species calls itself humans, the Admiral continued. They have achieved spaceflight, nuclear technology, and global communication systems. They have created art, literature, music, and philosophy that surpasses anything in our databases. And they did it all while living in conditions that would require emergency evacuation protocols on any civilized world. Dr. Yilkes of the Scientific Consortium requested permission to speak. As the Federation's leading expert on evolutionary biology, her opinion carried great weight. What you describe is impossible, Dr. Yilkes stated firmly. No species can evolve intelligence while facing constant mortal threats. Civilization requires safety, stability, and resources. You cannot develop art while fighting for survival. Admiral Kexthor nodded grimly. That's what we thought too. But we have 4 separate research teams that have spent months studying these humans. Their findings are consistent and terrifying. The holographic display changed to show human cities, hospitals, schools, and cultural centers. The images looked normal until the environmental readings appeared alongside them, showing radiation levels, atmospheric toxicity, and geological instability that made each location a death trap by Federation standards. Humans have somehow turned survival into a competitive sport, the Admiral explained. They deliberately place themselves in danger for entertainment. They consume poisons for pleasure. They live in family groups on a planet where raising offspring should be impossible. Commander, Vextal requested permission to address the Council. As the officer who had led the first contact mission, his testimony would be crucial. Honored representatives, Captain Vextal began, I have personally observed these humans in their natural environment. They are not suffering. They are not struggling. They are thriving in ways that shame our most successful civilizations. He paused, his crystalline form shifting colors as he processed the memory. I watched a human female voluntarily descend to depths that would crush our strongest ships. She was conducting scientific research and seemed genuinely happy about her work. I observed human children playing in areas where our environmental suits would fail within minutes. I saw families gathering to watch geological disasters that they considered beautiful entertainment. The chamber erupted in various forms of distress communication. The concept was too alien for most species to accept. Captain Vextal continued over the noise, but the most disturbing discovery came when we realized that humans are planning to leave their world, not to escape it, but to find other challenging environments to colonize. This statement caused complete silence in the chamber. They want to establish colonies on worlds that are almost as dangerous as their homeworld, Captain Vextal explained. They speak of terraforming planets, exploring hostile environments, and pushing the boundaries of what life can survive. They see the universe not as a dangerous place to be avoided, but as an adventure to be explored. At that moment, the chamber's communication system activated. The display showed two humans floating in what appeared to be a small spacecraft in orbit around their planet. Greetings, Galactic Federation, said Dr. Maria Santos, speaking from the International Space Station. We understand you've been studying our world and would like to establish formal diplomatic relations. The assembled representatives stared, in shock. The humans had somehow detected their observations and were now requesting direct contact. We're calling from our space station, Dr. Santos continued cheerfully. We built it using controlled explosions to escape our planet's gravity well. Pretty neat, right? Dr. Chris Johnson floated into view beside her. We're really excited about meeting other intelligent species. We have so many questions about life in the galaxy. We're also eager to share what we've learned about surviving in challenging environments. Admiral Kexthor found his voice first. Humans, he said carefully. We have been observing your species for several months. We are concerned about your living conditions. Dr. Santos laughed, a sound that the translators rendered as expressions of joy across 47 different species. Our living conditions, you mean Earth? It's a wonderful place to live. Sure, it can be challenging sometimes, but that's what makes life interesting. Challenging? Representative Silthara whispered. They consider a Deathworld challenging? Doctor. Johnson must have heard the translation because he responded directly. Every world has its difficulties. The key is learning to work with your environment instead of against it. Humans have been doing that for thousands of years. We've developed some pretty amazing technologies along the way, Dr. Santos added. Emergency medicine that can repair almost any injury, materials that can withstand extreme conditions, transportation systems that work in any environment. We'd love to share these innovations with other species. The Federation representatives exchanged glances, clicks, and electromagnetic pulses of concern. The humans were offering to share survival technologies that had been developed for use on a Class Omega Deathworld. We're also planning some exciting exploration missions, Dr. Johnson continued enthusiastically. Mars colonization, asteroid, mining, deep space exploration. We think life in the galaxy is just getting started. Admiral Kexthor realized that the humans weren't content to stay on their impossible world. They wanted to spread their brand of aggressive survival across the galaxy. Humans, he said slowly. Would you be willing to participate in a formal cultural exchange program? We believe your species has much to teach the rest of the galaxy. Absolutely, Dr. Santos replied immediately. We'd love to learn about other worlds and share our experiences. Just let us know what kind of environments you'd like us to help with. The more challenging, the better. After the communication ended, the Federation Council sat in stunned silence. They had discovered a species that considered Class Omega Deathworlds to be recreational opportunities, who had achieved impossible technological advances through necessity, and who wanted to help other species survive in previously uninhabitable environments. Representative Zarketh of the Mining Guild was the first to speak. My people have been unable to extract resources from dozens of worlds because they're too dangerous for our equipment. If these humans can survive anywhere, think of the exploration possibilities, added Dr. Yilkes, her scientific curiosity overcoming her disbelief. We could study environments that we previously considered completely inaccessible. Admiral Kexthor called for order. The question before us is simple. Do we classify humans as the most dangerous species ever encountered, or as the most valuable allies imaginable? The debate that followed lasted for 3 days. In the end, the Council reached a unanimous decision that would change galactic history. The official Federation document classified Earth as the first known paradox world,